back. We live. Go Defenders. You know, we kind of come back together like Voltron, and we come together, but we still apart.
Season 3.
But we managing, and you know, I'm Knowledge Born, and we got Evan Moore, we got Mario Gage, and we got Jeffrey Beckham. You know what I mean? Jeff out here moving like Bruce Wayne these days.
I told y'all I'm the Black Batman, man. I'm the Black Batman. People don't believe me, but like I've been on that. You know, it's been crazy, man, trying to make sure that we maneuver through this pandemic and come out good on the other side. I mean, it's been a lot of positives in the group, man. You know, Knowledge, you are now an official married man.
Yeah, that shit.
You know, beautiful. Evan's been killing it. Writing music now, doing the music thing. Just always a voice in the media here. And Mario, man, we see you. You got a new look for us. It's like NBA. You know, the NBA players at the end of the season, they come back to the new season with a new look.
Hey, you know, trying to keep it interesting.
Yeah,
plotting it out. I'm like, that's a hot weather move you pulling.
Trying to get the waves back, you know.
I ain't mad at you. I mean, I think one of the things that, you know, we've seen happen over the course of 2020 going into 2021 is a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-improvement that I think not only the people on this call, but even our friends and our social media networks have been pursuing. But I mean, one of the things that I think that goes kind of unchecked is kind of like wellness and how people are and like actually checking in with folks. And so it's just real good to get on this call. But how are y'all doing? You know, I don't think I've officially even asked that. I just assumed through social media everybody's good. But how are y'all doing?
Oh shit, man, I'm good, man. Besides everything that Jeff mentioned, you know, we got a book coming out this year on October 12th. So pretty much it's been full speed ahead pretty much since like last half of 2020 was work, the book, gonna be back teaching at the Paul, you know, in the fall or class. So journalism school class. So that's good. Other than that, man, it's just, you know, hanging in there like everybody else, you know, like I've been spending a whole lot of time doing stuff like this and also, you know, random phone calls from friends and people we haven't spoke to in a while because, yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And we're at kind of getting to in that age where you just randomly call up a homie to check on them. Like, if you don't see them post nothing on Facebook in a couple of days, you start like, hey, you good? Like, it's, you know, that's how it kind of, you know, been. And I really appreciate people reaching out and also, you know, I've gotten the same. So, yeah, I think I've, you know, put more thought and being mindful of the conversation I have over the phone and, you know, stuff like that.
That's real. I feel like anytime I've seen like a decent picture of one of my friends and a long post under it, I get really scared. Like when I'm scrolling, so I'm just like, I hope that's a good one. You know, one of my homies that literally like kind of he was doing like a dedication to one of our friends, but I was like, man, you scared the heck out of me. You know, I wasn't thinking it was you know, in this day and age, you just don't know. You know, and we have to be intentional about our conversations and kind of the way we go about things. But shoot, Mario, what's been happening? You were thinking about B school, I remember. Is that still on deck or what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's still on deck. I take the GMAT next Tuesday, so we'll see. So yeah, so that's what's been going on. You know, I'm not gonna lie and pretend like this past year has been easy and a cakewalk, which I know it hasn't been for anybody. But yeah, I've just been taking everything a day at a time. And you know.
The record collection getting bigger.
Where you looking, Mario? Where you thinking about applying?
So, in terms of schools, I'm definitely considering Booth and Kellogg here in Chicago. Then Harvard Business School, Wharton, Columbia, Stanford, USC, and UCLA as well, and Columbia too. If I didn't say that,
you ain't playing with them. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I'm
brother.
about to
Top
say,
10 all the way.
Thank
about to
you.
go snap on them.
Thank you. So we'll see, man. Send
That's
prayers
real.
up.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be fine. I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure. You will definitely pop one of those
Thank you.
options off easily. You know, I definitely think East Group's a good
All
move.
day long. We already
Thank
Yeah.
know he gonna be HBS Wharton easy.
Unstoppable after that. Jeff,
Thank
man,
you.
you
Oh, man.
completed like a real, and I think it's an interesting like dynamic because I think you hit the big kind of like marker on birthdays because I feel
Yeah.
like the 4-0 is like a huge birthday. So to go through that during the time of social distancing, I think like it was very dope to see that like you still were knocking out mad goals over it. It seemed like you just were like a life beater on certain circumstances where I was like, okay, he's getting the art off the ground in a real way. You now like are doing a gallery, right? So tell us more about that. That'd be dope. But aside from your professional and physical transformation stuff, I think the art to me has been the part that's been the most fun to watch from afar.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, bro, it's been I just say it's been a blessing. I mean, that's the word, that a blessing, not just like in terms of the ability to like do it and watch it yourself develop and get better, but like the messaging I'm getting back from people everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lady today hit me with, the long post of I had tears in my eyes because this piece meant so much. My mother desegregated the school in North Carolina and was one of the first Blacks there. And this, tells her story. Or you hear when you hear your piece is going to be placed in 30 schools in Kentucky. Or a brother named Courtney Lee is actually opening grocery stores in Kansas City and food deserts. He's got 3 of them coming. And he bought, 20 pieces for 2 of the stores that we just sipped. He's like, I need you to come down. I need you to come speak about your art and why you tell Black stories. And, we're going in neighborhoods that haven't seen this kind of art, haven't seen Black people like you ever in some of the neighborhoods we're in. So I think that's been cool. Then, beyond that, man, too, just like, I think there's something, the reason why we do this about telling our story, there's so much power in it. And I think now more than ever, when we're all distanced or at home, like having images that can communicate or music that can communicate narrative is so important, man. People are looking for that. And, I'm just glad to be a part of the culture, a little bit of the fabric there. The work part was again unexpected. I don't think I expected to be sitting in the CEO seat of Chicago Scholars this soon. I mean, like I think like it was a goal that I saw for myself going to work there, but not like immediately. I think while I was there and watching Dominique move the way she did, I was like, man, that's something that I would like to do one day. I'm thinking 2 or 3 years down the road, not 2.5 years in. But the opportunity is presented itself, and I'm going hard, running at it full speed. They are, doing a search, but I see myself as fit as anybody else for the job. And so I'm in the seat. They told me I got the seat. I'm gonna act like I got the seat, and I'm gonna work the role as much as I can. So yeah, man, I've been enjoying the current season. I really have.
That's real. Nah, man. I mean, obviously, for me, as I said right before we kind of got on, for me, 2020 was literally just like all-star game, wedding. You know what I mean? Everything for 2020 was just planning and planning a wedding. And the tough part of it was, adjusting to what was going to be, almost a 200-person event to that turning into like a 50-person event. And then, having to navigate COVID proofing everything and making sure that, my wife was okay with everything. Cause I think, particularly for the bride, there's like a dream scenario about how things are going to go down. And it just seemed like at every turn we were being challenged and there was so much uncertainty as to how the event would go outside of like knowing that it would happen, but just, not knowing the scale at which it could happen, you know, having to take certain people off the list that we were like wanted to be there or envisioned being there. So it definitely was a tough one, but like ultimately in the end, it went off well. And you know, I think that was obviously the highlight of the year, but it was just one of those things where I think us being at home gave us the opportunity where like that's all we had to focus on. So there was a lot of roller coaster riding going on during 2020, but it all went smooth in the end. Went to Tulum for the honeymoon, came back, you know, refreshed, ready for 2021. And so hopefully we here, and you know, the other thing that's going on for me is in April, I will finally be defending the dissertation. So I'll be done with school. So that's like something that I'm like, I can't wait for that. Just like at this point, it's a movie that's been playing too long. I'm ready for the next journey and the next frontier on that front. So, you know, on my Zoom, I'm for a little while at least, I'm gonna put doctor in there just so people remember that shit. Like, I gotta do it for a little while. I'm gonna let it go after a couple months, but the first couple months, I'm changing my signature on everything.
Hey man, at work we always tell our folks that, you know, we have to assure that if you have doctor at the end of your title, we call you doctor. So you earn that title. And so we, you know, we calling you doctor because you earned that title.
Dr. Evans.
It's something to it. I'm like, finally, in my household, it'll be that. You know what I mean? But you know, just shifting gears when we thinking about, you know, where we are now, 2021, and we've had the election, we've gotten rid of Trump to an extent. We're about to really get rid of him in a second, but you know, we now have a new president who's come in, and immediately the you know, the priority has been the virus and the vaccine. And so, you know, we were talking a little bit about it yesterday as well as like before we got on, but you know, what are your feelings about the vaccine? Is there some apprehension about taking it? I know I've talked to plenty of people who have conflicting opinions on this thing, but I would be, you know, glad to hear kind of what you guys think about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I am one that is in complete support of taking the vaccine. I wasn't at first, but after studying like some of the data around like mRNA transport and how they've built this vaccine, and that it's literally been researched. And I know that when I worked in pharma, I remember hearing about some of this 10, 12 years ago, that the only thing that they really had to adjust was the RNA mapping, which is like basically if you have a map of everything, then they have mapped the other coronaviruses. There's slight protein differences in the way this thing is built. And so they were able to map it. Actually, a young Black girl, I can't remember her name, but she was the one that helped like discover how to map COVID-19. Then they mapped it, and they were able to adjust for the mRNA transport vaccine. Now, look, I'm not a medical doctor. I would not be out here advising folks on what to do from their own. They need to talk to their doctor. But for me, I was saying earlier, the risk of not taking it, especially if you're 65 plus, well, you weigh your risk. I would rather risk, you know, the side effects from taking a vaccine, which would be basically allergic response for most people, versus not taking it and getting it over 65. And then, you know, having, I had my dad's best friend, my uncle passed in the last 45 days from COVID. And so I've seen the effects it's had on older Blacks in particular. I've also known some people in our age group to get it and not make it. But definitely, like, it feels like if you're over 65 or 70, man, and you get it, it's not a good look. So you know, weigh your risk, but that risk doesn't, you know, if I was 60, I'm gonna take it at 40, but I'm, you know, 65 plus for sure.
Wow. Yeah. What's your take on it, Ev?
You know, obviously it's that history, you know, with you know, state-sponsored medicine and Black folks. So that's always at the back of your head. But at the same time, I mean, I take a real like Murphy's Law, simpler approach. Is like we take stuff all the time. We don't know 100% what's in it, and that may be too simplistic of an approach. But hey, I mean, we need to get past this, and we wouldn't be having to take vaccines as the people who knew about this, like before it spread it crazy, would have taken it seriously. We wouldn't be in this situation, and feel like that we can get back towards some semblance of life the way it was back when the All-Star game was here. I mean,
yeah,
I'm just looking at it like, hey, man, we take it, we all take it, we get a little bit closer to the other side.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, I think, obviously there's definitely a long history of our community and, kind of the medicine community, to what Evan was saying, and going back to Tuskegee experiment. But at the same time with COVID-19, I think, I'm in support of the vaccine. And I think that, as many people who can take it should take it. Like if I had the opportunity to take it, I would take it. And I realize that there's certain groups of people who, it might not necessarily be conducive for, people who are considering getting pregnant and that sort of thing, since some of the long-term side effects for pregnant women are not known. But that group aside, I think that everyone who it kind of falls outside of those groups where the long-term effects aren't known, who are able to take it, should take it. And then that way we can just kind of all just kind of protect ourselves and kind of get rid of this pandemic.
That's real. I mean, I think like for a while, we were getting a lot of lip service about how quickly this vaccine was going to roll out. And then, we also were being told at the very same time that, most vaccines aren't ready for 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's been a lot of mixed messaging. I mean, when we think about media and, we've gotten to the point where now they're publicly telling us we should be wearing 2 masks. When I knew people who were doing that at the very beginning, when they were saying, you don't need to wear a mask at all. So it's interesting that I think, the information that was going on and being passed around backstage is just now kind of entering the front stage. And I think that the general public, wasn't informed because there wasn't enough resources in place for them to all kind of be protected in the same way. So there's a lot of distrust and mistrust rather that is going on with listening to what the CDC tells us, listening to what the White House tells us. And, there's an assumption that with the transition in administration that's going to change. But, amongst Black folk, we've never been too trusting of things that our government kind of regulated, right? And so I do believe kind of what Ev is saying, that people are going to ultimately take it just because, what do you have to lose to a certain degree? And like, you've probably done stuff worse to yourself. Clearly made worse decisions that will impact your health even worse than any vaccine could ever do. And there has been some vetting that's going on. I think there's been enough vetting that we're giving this to our frontline workers. And so, I think that has given us some confidence. Shout out to Garth, Dr. Garth Walker, for being one of the first.
Dr. Walker.
In my network and probably all of our networks that was like on Instagram, like, I'm getting the vaccine today. You should get it too.
Hey man, he was on it.
Yeah,
he was on it, and I think his display of that was necessary and needed. I won't even lie. Seeing him and then a few other, Dr. Kendra Frazier, Noel and Karan, the Herx crew get it. Like all of the friends that we have in the medical field, Ed and Wendy McDonald, like they all got it. And that definitely calmed my nerves as they shared their journey. Because rightfully so, Black folk got a real reason to be like, yo, we a little skeptical of what y'all are doing. And, that is important, for us. The Tuskegee experiment, or which should have been what is properly termed the what is it, the United States American Medical Association, before it became the CDC's, exploration of untreated syphilis on the Negro male. That's the actual name of the study. Where they told us we were getting a vaccine and they were giving us syphilis. Black folk got a real reason to be skeptical. I don't hide anybody's skepticism. I waited. I did wait. I'm waiting to see. I want to see who they're giving what. Is it Moderna? And I got a homegirl who's from Atlanta who was like, I'm not taking it. She's like, I'm gonna wait, but she also wants to get pregnant. And I know they've also had some issues with fertility complications with women trying to get pregnant. So, I think everybody, like I said, we started, you got to weigh your options, man. I got a question for y'all. How have y'all been maintaining in this pandemic? I know we talked about mental health early on, and we talked about what we all been doing, but we social guys, man. How have y'all coped with the lack of social connection in all of this?
And it's for me right before things kind of got right between All-Star Game weekend and when things shut down. I took over the entertainment beat, the paper, and then now I got a 10 to 5-ish shift and weekends off. I'm like, yo, I can kick it on the weekend, maybe go out on a date or something, do all this cool shit. Then, the world changed forever, man. So it was someone who was itching to get in the mix is seeing one event after the other canceled in the city. We all had this calendar of events and stuff we wanted to go to. Chicago Classic done. Chelsea Field Picnic done. What else? Silver Room Block Club Party done. All these events that Sneaker Ball was done. And all these events that we like to go out and show out and flex at. We had to be in our living rooms and other places, man. So I'm gonna lie, man, it's been tough, man. It's been weird, this wanting to go out. There's times where after work, man, I would hop in a car and because I live in South Shore, I would hop in a car and just start driving and I think I ended up in Uptown, one day. And so, but yeah, man, overall, I'm hanging in there, man. We're from a tough group and we can weather this. So yeah.
I think during the summer, I encountered a lot of people who were still doing house gatherings, small gatherings, particularly in the summer where it'd be like, oh, I got a nice backyard. We can all meet and socially distance. And they would start off where people would have masks on, but then you would see slowly but surely as people are eating, people are drinking, people are whatever, it would slowly but surely turn into a regular function, but it would just be a little bit less people. That was all fine and dandy until the real shutdown happened. There was a real hard stop on get-togethers that I noticed, at least amongst my own network. But the interesting thing has been to watch on social media and see I think those that are even, younger than Mario, those that are fresh out of college, having this little underworld where it's almost like Prohibition, where they're still kicking it very hard and they're still figuring out how to get together and get up and have humongous, super spreader events. And that's been weird to see. And us being here in Chicago and thinking about just, the impetus for this and the Go Defenders, it's been tough having to defend Chicago to other people when this shit shows up on World Star and shows up on Instagram stories and all these different the Shade Room and whoever else wants to cover Chicago and how they having parties at the Circle in the street and girls dancing on cars and no one's wearing masks and the police stopped down and they clowning Lori and they made memes of Lori and that's been a running joke pretty much all 2020 is our mayor cannot control what's been going on. So it's been conflicted and I think for people in my you know, I would say our generation, you know, I think there was initially the shock and everybody's scared. Then slowly but surely during the summer, everybody started having get-togethers, and then like it kind of normed, and then people were like, okay, well, we can do this, but we can't do that, and there became protocol to how people got together. You know what I'm saying? And then once it got cold, now it's went back to like we don't really get together again. But this indoor dining being put in place again, I think has changed things. You know, and I know I told y'all my refuge, unfortunately, was, you know, I probably smoked cigars more during this time than ever, which probably isn't good, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I have a balcony and I have time, and it's literally it helped blow a lot of time in order for me to get that separation or that feeling that I needed to kind of get through work and then transitioning from that into family and stuff.
And you know, one thing,
I mean,
one thing I want to say, to your point, during the summer, that's kind of when we were able to kind of, you know, get together outside and kind of still socially distance, but kind of see each other after not having seen each other for a long time. And something interesting really came out of that for like some of my friends in my friend group that I'm in. So a couple of my friends started this nonprofit for Black men called the Healing Shy. And basically what we would do is all summer we would get together and we would do yoga every Sunday. Just nothing but Black men coming together on a Sunday morning, doing yoga. We would be at this park over on like 24th and Federal where the Ickies used to be. And then in addition to that, we would do workouts during the week during mornings like Wednesdays and Thursdays sometimes, and also Saturdays. So that was something that was really dope. And we've been trying to do a lot of stuff around, you know, wellness for Black men and mental health in general. And when we've been able to like partner with Lululemon for a few things. So that's one of the positive things for me in my life that's come out of this whole pandemic, just my brothers in the Healing Shy.
That's super dope. That's like mad dope. I definitely saw that from afar. I didn't, you know, you see things, you don't necessarily know the inner workings of how it develops, but that's definitely fresh.
Yeah, and I didn't get to go, but I got to like kind of pop in after on some of them. Like to the last one they did, I went to the brunch they did.
Oh, great!
At Frontier.
Yes.
And I've been wanting to go, man, because I've seen the guys, you know, Mike and the crew out there, especially this summer. I wasn't out with the yoga, but I definitely was out with a lot of the bike clubs, like on the bicycles, man. And that was like for me a game changer from a fitness perspective. Like I didn't even know what biking could do to your body when you really like lean into it. I'm down 20, still down 23 pounds. At one point I was down 30 and I just looked too skinny like a bobblehead. So I was like, I can't be that. Like me at 190 looks weird. I started looking like, Jeff, you all right? You need some help? But no, it was good, but it was really cool to kind of congregate with Black people all themed around fitness. You know, like folks on bikes and working out outside together. If anything, I think many people it was like one or two things happened. Either people got in COVID shape or they was quarantine thick. It was like you had to pick. But it was nice to see so many people, man, really take better care of themselves when they could get out this summer. And I think, you know, whether it was yoga with the Healing Shy, or the bike clubs that were rolling around, folks really leaned into like being better about health. And I can't wait for the weather to break. Like, I'm like, come on, March 30th, you know, you got to get to the end of March. You know, in Chicago, it'd be snowing in like April.
Sometimes May.
Man, but I do think like it's gonna be good. And I think, you know, Naledge, you said it like it did get tiring answering some of the questions around our city. And right now, you know, one of our future shows, we need to talk about the carjacking situation that's happening. I've been talking to a lot of the youth about it, but I think like we talk about defending Chicago, folks need to understand what's really happening. You've probably seen some of that data around like Black male achievement, youth achievement data, and how alarming it is. And so, you know, we won't dive into all that today, but I think like down the road, we should certainly have some conversations and bring some educators, some of your network knowledge on board, and some of your folks in the city that we could bring in to talk about what's happening. Because I think there's some correlations happening there that we're not quite paying attention to.
That's for sure. I mean, I think one of the first things that, even when we had like the little informal conversation yesterday, that was one of the first things that came up. And, you know, we just had here in Bronzeville, Sophia King just did like a Zoom town hall thing where, you know, she was talking to some of the people on our block about carjackings. I'm sure she's been doing that with, you know, people on you in your like locale as well. Because you're in her jurisdiction, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. So I mean, it's definitely one of those things that, you know, Chicago continually presents issues that are real, and I think we need to tackle those for sure. You know, I also been thinking about like CPS. I mean, I have a 13-year-old son, so he's been like having to do, you know, remote learning for the most part of this pandemic. And like, you know, because he's in the academic center of a high school, he doesn't have to go back. But I'm just thinking about like some of these kids who are forced to go back. I was reading a tweet from Janice Jackson, CPS CEO, where she said something to the effect of like, you know, find a policy person who doesn't believe that like the student should go back, and the likeliness of that is like finding she said a scientist that doesn't believe in climate change. And I was like, whoa, that was you know, it kind of took me aback. So, you know, I wonder, you know, I know Jeff, you deal with students all the time. Like, how are they feeling about like some of their like valuable school years being done remotely, and like their process of transitioning into college is something I see as well. But it's like doing that remote, I can't even imagine what that feeling was like, because it was so much about social connection that made that experience what it needed to be.
Yeah, last year, man, I think a lot of our kids, like most of us, were quick to adapt, right? Like they were very adaptable and resilient. The kids last year, we didn't really see a drop off in the number of students who applied for, went away to school, or virtually went away, because most of them have stayed home to go away. But our placement, or students who went to school, was the normal for Chicago scholars. Like 100% of our kids went off to college. What we are seeing now is some of the cracks in that, with like whether or not they're going to matriculate, you know, some of those numbers. We did see 8% matriculation after the first semester, but we're worried about that continuing in the second semester. And so, like, for those listening, like, matriculation is that, you know, you get from one semester to the other, right? And so the one of the telling signs of a student will graduate is if they matriculate from their first year into their second. If you get from that first to second year, the likelihood of you graduating from college is like exponentially greater than it is than if you don't. This year, you know, I think a lot of the kids that are seniors this year are somewhat a little bit more shell shocked. So we're seeing kids who want to stay home. We're hearing kids that may want to take a gap year. We're advising against that. But you're right, a lot of it's due to like the loss of the social interactivity that's happening after having to do this for 2 years. I am a little bit encouraged because a lot of the colleges we partner with are going like test optional, where like even big schools, selective schools like the one Naledge went to, they're like, you know, we're going to throw out the testing, because it's hard to assess a student who hasn't been in person learning for 2 years and say this test is going to be the be all end all for them to get into this university. And so college applications are up like 300% from what we've seen and heard across the country, which I think is a telling sign that like kids are like, yo, I don't have anything else to do. I'm going to go to school because I know the job market's going to be bad. You know, we're in a recession. It just makes sense to do that right now. So people are really trying to better themselves. And I hope that continues with regard to like a lot of the student stuff I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, they're definitely doing that at Northwestern for sure. And, it's interesting because some of these ideas, I think this pandemic, just to kind of tie a knot around most of this, is like it's giving people the opportunity to experiment with like concepts and ideas of things that they were thinking about prior to, that now they have the opportunity to experiment with. Because I know Harvard was already talking about like eliminating testing for entrance, right? And so the minute they announced that, it's like a domino effect. And so schools that feel like they're in a similar tier started doing the same. And I think it's going to trickle down even more. I hope that the next step on some of the higher ed stuff is eliminating loans for a lot of these youth and not giving them the burden of having so much debt. Like, I think that's been like one of those things that I've been thinking about recently. But just to keep it G on that note, like going forward, what do you all think, what do you all think about 2021? Is there an optimistic kind of view of this year versus last year? How is the year kind of started off for y'all?
I mean, for me, very positive with, well, it's funny. I said that I feel like I got two competing tracks going on. Like, it's like work, professional, great, man. It's been great. I can't be more grateful than things that have happened, finances. But like, I think I mentioned I lost my uncle. I lost my dad's best friend who was like my uncle to COVID. My mom had really, really major surgery for a tumor last year, and she's been battling that. So it's like, it's a real interesting season where it's like so much loss going on around you. And yet, like, I think God for me, it's God for me. For other people, whatever your faith thing is, God has really been like, I'm gonna show you that I still got you in all of the midst of all this craziness, and I don't always bring that up on the podcast, but I think that it's important, like, to lean into whatever your belief structure is at this time, like to find, because a lot of folks, man, are starting to really crack at the seams of this thing. It's like, mental health. I see it. I'm seeing it from friends. I'm seeing it from people around me who are sharing like they're really struggling. So it's like, you got to find your thing. That's why painting for me has been like, people like, when you find time to do this, I'm like, what else am I doing? I don't watch reality TV all day. So I'm either going to be painting, reading books, or in the gym. And I don't have kids. I'm not married. It's just me. So, I work, come home, paint, read a book, watch whatever sports is on, keep that process going. Because I'm not out in these streets. I'm not I'm not kicking it every night. I wasn't doing that, no way. So, I can't go to Mario's parties and hear him spin. I miss that. I can listen when he's online, spinning from the truck when he was doing the summer Jeep, the Jeep and beats. But no, man, I think like the start to this year has been really interesting. I'm grateful to have my family. I'm grateful to have friends like you guys, man. I think more than anything else, like, I recognize like how much I appreciate the relationships I have in my life, and how much like this time, even with y'all, is therapeutic for me. That I'm grateful for that, to be able to continue that, to do this and move this forward.
Yo, Jabari, I think you're on mute right now.
Man, how you feeling, Mario?
Yeah, shoot, I'm not gonna even lie. 2020 kicked my ass. 2021, I am skeptically optimistic, but at the same time, I'm grateful. There's so many people who are in such worse positions than I am in. But yeah, no, I'm just ready for this season to be over with. That's my piece. I don't like it.
I feel the same way. Like, I for so long we've been talking about this new normal, and like I don't see it. But at the same time, I'm hoping that by the time we get around back to summer, that some of the things that we can replicate from last summer on a better level, just knowing that people are vaccinated will be helpful. you know.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I'm at, you know. And let the chips fall where they may. I do like the LA Fitness, you know. Once they got back open, I was back using that as an outlet and just masking up. So that the physical aspect of things is back going, and so you know that's kind of where I'm at with 2021, and just hoping that things can you know come to some type of middle ground, right? That can allow us the space to be ourselves a little bit more.
I look forward to it, man. Like I said, I know we as a group have been talking about, you know, how do we record? What do we do? Are we going to, you know, record in person, you know, doing these things, trying to figure it out the same way like other TV shows are doing it. So, you know, I look forward to, you know, us doing that, seeing each other socially distant if we have to be. You know, I think that the world is starting to lend space for that. And I think we're starting to figure out how to live finally after months on end, trying to figure out how to live with this thing. Because it doesn't appear like with variants that it's going to go anywhere. So, you know, we're going to get through this, man. I think the positive thing, it's been a year that we didn't expect to be doing this way. It's been a year, and it was almost like a year to the date where we recorded the Kobe joints that, you know, we all went inside, and, you know, brothers are holding on. Some of us are doing really well. Marriages, jobs, school, things are going positively, and that is, you know, that's a blessing. I think that's a good example for everybody that might be watching us too or listening to us, is that like you can, with continued hard work, a lot of faith and effort, you can make it through this.
Absolutely. I think you're muted, Jabari.
Oh shoot. On that note, you know, we can wrap it up until the next episode. You feel me? And we can get into some of these more in-depth issues that have been affecting the city, and get back to defending what's rightfully ours. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
Exactly.
Let's go.
But it's been wonderful talking to y'all, man. And
likewise.
And everybody watching this or who gets to watch this, please like and subscribe for the content, and backlog, binge watch, whatever you need to do.
Binge watch.
Yeah,
and,
we still on YouTube. We on Spotify, all of that.
And we'll be back at y'all real soon. Peace.
Peace, y'all.